What's up guys, BltzZ here today bringing you another video. In today's video I want to jump back to our popular series discussing future changes we would love to see in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. You guys have been bringing up some great changes in the comments that you would love to see, so I made another list and included some of your great recommendations and added a few more of my own. If you guys have not yet, be sure to check out the previous two videos where we discuss many changes of Remake Part 2 that we would love to see, and I guarantee you that your change has already been discussed in those videos. But even so, be sure to leave a comment below on what you think about these or what changes you would love to see in Remake Part 2. Now with all that being said, let's get into this video. This first change was mentioned by a subscriber I recall from the last video, but in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, I would also love to see this. Whenever you cast a Firaga or any of the Aga spells, there is a significant amount of delay in the animation for the startup until the move is casted. I would love to see if this was tweaked a little bit, but not entirely taken out or changed. For example, Aerith is an experienced spellcaster and a freaking ancient, so the concept I'm thinking is to have her able to cast Aga spells much faster without delay compared to other characters. But this could also be possible for other characters, granted, if their magic attack power stat is above a certain threshold. This would put them in a proficiency rating for said magic stat and give them extra attributes, such as faster cast times. At each character's base, Aerith has the highest magic attack stat, Cloud has the second highest, with Barret and Tifa to follow up after. But with magic up materias and specific weapons, their stats can be increased in that category. Let's say for example, if they get above 350 or so magic attack, this is the required threshold to reduce that startup animation time. What do you guys think about that? This delay of course is implemented because of how powerful the Aga spells are. They not only deal crazy damage, but they stun and interrupt enemies and bosses in the middle of big attacks. For example, against the Airbuster here, he is constantly trying to get close and launch an attack against us. But if you properly time Thundaga from Cloud, Barret, or Tifa, it will continue to stun him and cancel his animations, forcing them to restart their attack over and over and over again. This also can lead to many no damage boss runs too, and as you guys know this is what makes my top secrets fight method and many others so successful. This is a unique one, and I think it could also be applied to many other stats and in turn make the gameplay even better, if that's possible. One other change I would love to see is an adjustment to how enemy aggro works. In the MMORPG world, aggro is when a character has generated either enough damage or threat to said enemy. They gain the focus of that enemy and they continuously target them while ignoring the other party members. In Final Fantasy VII Remake, the aggro is not relayed to damage, but it depends on who you are controlling and how long you are controlling them for, which is very different. For example, if Aerith is being controlled by the computer and deals a lot of damage while I am controlling Tifa, the enemy will still focus all of its attention on Tifa because I am controlling her, and she's hot. In this game, you are encouraged to switch characters continuously, which I love, but the enemy shifts their attention to whoever you are controlling after 3 to 4 seconds of you controlling them. I would love if they changed this to suit MMO aspects of aggro, which they follow with Final Fantasy XIV so very well. There is the Provoke Materia, which you can equip on a character to taunt enemies once a character is almost dead, but it doesn't have an effect on bosses unfortunately, and said character needs to be in the red of HP in order for it to activate. Maybe this could be similar to our previous change where if a character has above a certain amount of defense, that they have an easier time holding enemy aggro. Like we would still be encouraged to switch to all characters in a fight while the tank, let's say Barret, would still need to attack and deal damage and retain enemies aggro off other members. I love MMOs, and I used to main tank a lot in World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV. Paladin gang stand up, but I think this could work very well and provide much more unique setups with party members. What do you guys think about this change? One big teammate and game mechanic change I would absolutely love is the teammate AI to be improved. This has been an issue for me personally, aside from Aerith moving towards the melee range for no reason. One issue I find often is when I'm controlling a character, the other two computer-controlled characters are not executing basic attacks or tacking on damage. I know we have to use their ATB bars to give them abilities to use, but there are often many times where Barret or Cloud will just be standing there blocking and not doing anything, while Tifa, who I am controlling, is the only one dealing attacks. On top of them building ATB very slowly by default, this is very annoying to not even see them helping out in a fight. Switching to them fixes this of course, but think about how much ATB or damage they are missing out on because they are facing the wrong way or just standing and blocking while an enemy is staggered. This is a big change for me I would love to see. If they don't improve the AI, please then just make co-op a thing, guys. Another change I would love to see is to not lose ATB when a character is knocked down during a casting animation. Yes, there has to be consequences for trying to use powerful magic and abilities in scenarios you are not supposed to, but the game itself does not have a specific tell for knowing when enemies are about to execute attacks. It's really a thing you have to get a feel for, and when you put enough hours into this game as I did, you then start to notice it, but you still get clapped from time to time. It happens when you go to hack and slash heavy. Everybody's a victim to it. While we're on this subject, maybe they can add a light indicator similar to what The Witcher 3 has that lets us know when an enemy attack is incoming and flashes an indicator on their health bar. Deadly boss mods, anyone? This next one is a personal want for me, and in certain media, it's definitely good to have, I agree. But for RPGs, I feel like this needs to change. Chapter announcements really have to go. Whenever a chapter number is being showcased on top to signify a new segment, it sort of breaks the immersion for me personally. And I think that the announcements of a new chapter puts a timestamp, so to speak, on how much time you have left until the game is done. Sort of a second form of linearity in a way too. And for an RPG, it's sort of a buzzkill. They can still exist, like after we beat the game and unlock chapter select mode to be able to backtrack and obtain certain items. That would be perfectly fine for me. But it's more about the announcement that we are now in chapter 15, and I start to get that feeling of not wanting to finish the game and rush through it. Especially when major news media outlets spoil exactly how many chapters long a game is months before it releases, and they specifically write this in the headline, so it's almost unavoidable. Looking at you, IGN. I know that chapters exist in almost everything. Even the original Final Fantasy VII could be broken up into chapters, either from the events and segments you are currently in or the disc swapping screen. It's unavoidable. But I think this could be a great change that wouldn't hurt their development process and any player's experience. What do you guys think about that? One of the biggest changes I would love to see and is super needed are to this system. And the fact that only 23% of people that watch and love these videos are currently subscribed. Guys, being a subscriber is totally free, helps support the channel out a ton, and not to mention, when we get to 100,000 subscribers, you get to see me kill that honeybee in dance scene dressed up as Cloud. Become a subscriber today so you don't miss out on any new videos or updates in regards to Final Fantasy VII Remake. When it comes to the battle system and boss battles, a change that I would love to see are more boss mechanics or special phase attacks to coordinate through. Like the Guard Scorpion has a double laser hide behind this debris mechanic, the Crab Warden has the stand on the middle tracks to avoid being shocked mechanic. It may be the MMO player inside of me, but I love these things and it's a lot of fun, especially if they consider making co-op for Final Fantasy VII Remake a thing. But I would love to see it if that were a bigger focus, at least for the harder difficulties, throwing the players more curveballs to stay on their toes. A small change I know will be adjusted, but I still want to mention, are more opportunities for battles in the game. Many players have expressed concerns in my comments that there are barely any combat segments in Remake, and how they spent more time walking around slowly than actually fighting, in a slight exaggeration. I know that random battle encounters are gone, but one can only imagine that with the open world being a thing, whether they choose to do zones or not, there will be many more enemies to choose from and battle like what they did with Dragon Quest XI. And like most other RPGs, I hope there are also rare enemy encounters that could give us special item drops or experience dumps, that kind of thing. Okay, this next change, in my opinion, is quite a lot, and I mean seriously is a huge, big change, and I don't expect them to go about it because of how large it is. But this would be a welcomed addition to 100% of the fan base, I believe. Square has been talking about revamping their classic mode to better suit those RPG enthusiasts a little bit more. Now, whatever that may be, we have no idea as of yet what their plans are. But what if the classic mode completely removed the action battle aspect of the game, but instead turns it into a fully turn-based, and I don't mean necessarily what they did with Remake's current classic mode, but I mean similar to what they're doing with Ever Crisis, how the characters stand still in a traditional RPG line and select attacks to deal to the enemy. Now that I think about it, if Remake comes to PC this year, I wonder if a mod team could implement this or make it work. I think we might be onto something there. But this would require enemy health to be adjusted as well as character and enemy damage too. It's sort of an overhaul in a way, but I think this could work if they are up to the challenge. I know a lot of people, including myself, love the new combat style of Remake, but I also know a big fan base that prefers the older style of RPGs, which I can resonate well with too. I mean, I grew up on that style and absolutely loved it, so I would welcome it back with open arms for sure. And it would definitely give us a new experience to enjoy after beating the game and ultimately give us more replayability for this game whenever we beat it. Fingers are crossed that whatever they decide to do with classic mode is ultimately an experience that we can all enjoy. This next change I would love to have is a multi-team swap ability where every party member is accessible mid-battle. This exists within Final Fantasy X, and we've talked about this before, and I think this could work extremely well within Remake. But I wanted to add a little bit of a twist on this mechanic too. When a character is swapped in, let's say Sid, they have a special attribute or mechanic where he would use a jump attack and pins the enemy to the ground and puts them into a pressured state. Now the other 2 party members on the field can begin to build stagger on them in the meanwhile. Either that or teammate assist could be a thing too. I'm fascinated and excited to see how they handle the multiple party members aspect for Final Fantasy VII Remake's future iterations. This is something I really hope they put extra detail into, because after seeing them interact with each other in Advent Children as a kid, this has always been a big want for me personally, seeing all these characters team up and collab cheeks together. Another change we'd all love to see are better and more well thought out side missions. Of course, we can start off with the traditional expected fetch quest, but I would love to get special side missions where it can affect the world in different ways. I'd love for them to go the Witcher 3 route with this, but I know that's expecting way too much. But I think with all the media criticism they already received about the side quests from IGN, GameSpot, etc., I think they're well aware of this want from fans, and I hope they dedicated some effort to this. Whether we get an open world or a big large couple of zones, these side missions could relay us some interesting Easter eggs within the world, or even affect how certain things function for the story within the game. This next change I would love to see in Remake Part 2 are more shortcuts for abilities or spells. Currently in Remake, holding the L1 button brings up a shortcut menu where you can input abilities as commands. This is limited to only 4 commands as of right now, but I think the L2 button should also be used to bring up more shortcuts too. L2 is only used to swap between compass or map for navigation aspects of the game. This to me should be a menu function instead, and bring L2 as more available shortcuts for us to be able to use more moves and map more spells too. I personally love the shortcuts and the slow down command style menu of the game. Shortcuts make the game feel more action based, but there are also times where I want to slow time down and analyze what's going on so I can decide what's the next move I should utilize or how to avoid the enemy's next attack. More options are always a good thing, and I think this could be a simple quality of life addition many can enjoy. And now for my final change that I want for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is the NPC character models being upgraded for more detail. It's no secret that Final Fantasy VII Remake is a goddamn pretty game in so many ways. The textures do have some issues, but various other areas of the game, such as the main character models, enemy models, and certain areas look amazing. However, everything else from NPCs, the lip syncing, and of course the skybox textures, all of these stand out as not very well done. Obviously, the skybox textures have been fixed with Intergrade, but some NPC characters a part of the main quest that you need to go through are not even properly lip synced. It's laughable. But not only that, their models compared to the main characters are so vastly different, it jumps out at me quite often. It's like Cloud and the party are walking around in a PlayStation 3 textured and NPC world at times. I think with the initial development in 2015 to 2017, with CyberConnect 2's cancellation of Final Fantasy VII Remake to them bringing it in-house from 2017 to 2020 played a part in the quality aspect of things. With these assets already existing from Remake and them having about 3 years, let's say, to work on Remake Part 2 for the next gen, I'm confident with them being able to correct these issues and overall bring a better experience for the next gen, or at least make the NPC and main characters look as if they're in the same game together. They put a lot of detail into making the NPCs unique with their dialogue and the amount of conversations that you can listen in on. I really appreciated that effort, but I do hope that going forward they continue those aspirations to overall making them look great too. And that's it for the video, guys. Let me know what you all think about these changes in the comments below. And hey, if Square Enix doesn't decide to implement these into their game, then when me and Attic finally put together that RPG we wanted to make, you guys can definitely expect to see these features in our game whenever that is. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is almost here, guys, with a little over 2 months away from that game dropping in June. I already can tell that June is going to be a hectic time for myself on the channel between Remake Intergrade, Yuffie's DLC, and Guilty Gear dropping. Those are all main titles I want to focus on and provide you guys content with, of course. But I was also thinking that in the meanwhile for April to get back into Final Fantasy XIV. I have not played since patch 5.2 and my Samurai and Dragoon are itching to get back into best in slot gear. I am in the Data Center Primal and the World Fanfrit. So if you guys are down to play Final Fantasy XIV with me in about a few days, let me know in the comments below, as that's something I'm definitely looking forward to with you all. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe if you are new. More Final Fantasy VII Remake videos are coming your way and you won't want to miss them. My name is Blitz and thanks for watching.